He said I'd let myself go, that I didn't turn him on anymore. So on our wedding anniversary, I gave him the one gift he never expected, my silence, followed by a standing ovation. You don't forget the moment the person who's supposed to love you says, "You've changed, and not in a good way." I had just stepped out of the bathroom in my robe, face still damp from the shower, and sat down on the edge of the bed. David was already under the covers, scrolling on his phone. He didn't even look at me when he said it. "I just think, maybe you don't care the way you used to." I blinked. What's that supposed to mean? He shrugged, still scrolling. "You used to wear makeup, real clothes, you used to try." Try? I felt the air leave my lungs. "I'm working full-time," I said slowly. "Managing the house, planning your mom's birthday, doing pickups and drop-offs, and making sure you have clean underwear. What exactly am I not trying at?" David sighed. "I'm just saying, it wouldn't hurt to put in a little effort. For me, for us, you don't excite me the way you used to." He rolled over and turned off the light. And just like that, I lay in the dark, blinking at the ceiling, replaying those words. "You don't excite me anymore." It wasn't the first time he'd said something like that. But it was the first time I heard it. We were 2 weeks away from our 10th wedding anniversary. I'd been planning a surprise dinner, maybe even a weekend getaway, something to bring us back together after months of drifting and clipped conversations. But now I was planning something else. Because something in me snapped that night. Not in anger. In clarity. I had not let myself go. I had let him treat me like someone who didn't matter. And that was about to change. The next morning, I dropped the kids at school, called in sick, and drove straight to the hair salon. Booked a cut, color, and brow tint. I hadn't touched my hair in 2 years. It had grown long, shapeless, dull. By the end of the day, it was sharp, rich brown with chestnut highlights and layers that framed my face like I actually gave a damn. Which I did. About me. Not him. I went shopping next. Not for groceries. For clothes. A stylist helped me find a dress that hugged the curves I thought I'd lost. A deep emerald green wrap that made my eyes glow and my waist look like it belonged in a perfume ad. I bought heels, lipstick, jewelry. And then I made a reservation. Not for 2. Just 1. For me. I didn't cancel the anniversary dinner. I just changed the location and the guest list. I sent David a calendar invite titled Anniversary, 10 Years of Clarity. Location, the Glenstone Hotel. 7:00 p.m. sharp. Dress nice. He accepted it with a thumbs-up emoji. He had no idea. The day came. He was already at the hotel when I arrived. I saw him from across the lobby, navy blazer, checked his watch, tapped his foot, waiting. I walked in like a woman in a movie, head high, heels clicking, green silk swaying with every step. His jaw actually dropped. He opened his mouth to say something, but I held up a hand. "No talking yet," I said. "I have something to show you first." I led him into the dining room, where I'd booked a private table. But instead of menus on the plates, there were 10 printed photos. One for each year of our marriage. All of me. Year 1, honeymoon. Year 2, pregnant. Year 3, sleep-deprived, breastfeeding. Year 4, juggling a baby and a laptop. Year 5, at a funeral. Year 6, comforting his mother during surgery. Year 7, cleaning vomit off the backseat of the car. Year 8, organizing school fundraisers. Year 9, exhausted, no makeup, holding a to-do list with 17 items. Year 10, the selfie I took that morning, in the green dress with fire in my eyes. He looked confused. Then stunned. Then guilty. "That," I said, pointing to the 10th photo, "is what it looks like when a woman stops living for someone else and starts remembering who she is." He opened his mouth again. I held up a second hand. "We're not having dinner. I just wanted you to see what you threw away." Then I walked out. Straight past him. Straight past the hostess. And straight into the main dining room, where I walked up to the baby grand piano and asked the staff if I could say something. They let me. I turned to the diners, complete strangers, and said, "Hi, sorry to interrupt. I just ended my 10-year anniversary dinner before it started, because my husband told me I don't excite him anymore. A collective hush fell over the room. I smiled, so I thought I'd give myself something better than a meal, freedom. And I walked out. To a round of applause. I didn't go home that night. I went somewhere better, somewhere I hadn't been in years, back to myself. After the applause died down and I stepped outside, the air felt different. Cooler, cleaner, lighter. Like I'd just left something behind. And I had. 10 years of trying to shrink myself into someone else's definition of attractive. 10 years of mistaking obligation for love. 10 years of brushing off comments like, maybe try some lipstick, or, I liked your hair longer. I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. I took a car to a boutique hotel I'd pre-booked under my maiden name. One night, room service. A bath deep enough to forget the years I spent being someone else's mirror. No missed calls from David. But a few texts. What was that? Are you seriously leaving me at the table? You're being dramatic. Can we talk? I turned off notifications. I turned on the bath. And for the first time in years, I took up space. In silence, in satin, in skin I wasn't ashamed of. The next morning, I checked out early and drove to Tasha's. My best friend, my day one, my safe place. She answered the door in a bathrobe and slippers, holding a mug of coffee and staring like I'd just returned from a war zone. Okay, she said, tell me everything. I did. She laughed, gasped, almost choked on her coffee when I got to the part about the restaurant speech. You got applause. Standing ovation. Queen shit. She hugged me so tight, I thought my ribs would crack. I should have left him years ago, I whispered into her shoulder. No, she said, you left him exactly when you remembered who the fuck you were. David, however, was not having a growth moment. By the time I got home to grab some clothes, he was waiting in the kitchen like a sitcom husband who thinks a sincere look and a single sentence will fix everything. I'm sorry, he said immediately. Okay, I didn't mean it like that. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't mean what? That I don't excite you anymore, or that you think my value is tied to lipstick and lingerie. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I meant I miss how things used to be, when we were younger, when you'd wear that red dress, when you cared. That stung more than I wanted it to. Because I had cared. Just not the way he wanted me to. I had cared about keeping our lives running. About keeping the peace. About not losing my shit every time he tuned out of a conversation or defaulted to TV instead of connection. You think I stopped caring, I said slowly, but I cared so much it drained me. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. I'm staying at Tasha's for a while, I said. Don't make this harder than it has to be. What about the kids? I'll be around, but I need space, and I'm guessing so do you. He looked like he wanted to fight it. But he didn't. That week, I didn't fall apart. I fell into something new. I booked a consultation with a therapist who specialized in identity recovery after long-term relationships. I made a spreadsheet of everything I had put on hold for the marriage, trips, hobbies, career opportunities. I found a photo of myself at 25, grinning with paint on my jeans and a journal in my lap, and I pinned it to the wall. That girl didn't let herself go. She let herself get buried. And I was finally digging her out. Meanwhile, David began damage control. He emailed me a list of talking points. Yes, actual bullet points, like a man pitching a budget revision. We should consider couples counseling. I'm open to you having more me time. I didn't realize how hurt you were. This could make us stronger. I almost laughed. He was negotiating. But I wasn't angling for a deal. I was already gone. One night, I got a message from one of the servers at the restaurant. A young woman named Bella. She DM'd me on Instagram. Hi, I waited your table that night. Just wanted you to know, you inspired me. I broke up with my boyfriend of 3 years the next morning. He used to say the same shit to me about my body. You helped me remember I deserve more. I sat there, phone in hand, stunned. Then I cried. Because no one had ever told me I was brave before. Certainly not David. Certainly not myself. But now, maybe that was changing. The more I stepped into my power, the more he scrambled to take it back. It's strange how men suddenly become sentimental when control starts slipping through their fingers. 2 weeks after the anniversary incident, David began a slow, strategic campaign to pull me back in. It started with texts. "I miss your laugh. I've been thinking about our first trip to Charleston. The kids miss you." The last one stung, but it was also manipulative, because I was still seeing the kids, just not sleeping under the same roof. He started posting nostalgic throwback photos on Facebook. One was from our wedding, captioned, "10 years ago today, imperfect but ours." Cute. Except we hadn't spoken in 4 days, and I was actively in therapy trying to detach from the version of myself who tolerated his indifference. People started commenting, "You two are couple goals. Such a strong marriage, love always finds a way. She's glowing in this pic, bring her back, bro." Bring her back. Like I'd been misplaced. Like I was an object that had wandered off. Tasha saw the post before I did and sent a screenshot with one comment. "This man is running PR on his own marriage." I decided not to engage, not yet. Let him post his nostalgia parade. Let him craft his comeback arc. Let him throw "miss you" messages into the void like breadcrumbs. I was busy. Busy remembering who I was. Busy doing things he never noticed I loved. Like painting. I'd signed up for a weekend oil workshop downtown, and on the first day, the instructor handed me a blank canvas and said, "Paint something that makes you feel awake." I painted a woman with her eyes wide open, walking barefoot through flames. No makeup, no armor, just fire. The instructor came over and whispered, "That's not fear in her face, that's clarity." Meanwhile, David asked for a dinner, just to talk. I agreed on my terms. Neutral ground, public place, no expectation. He showed up dressed in that blazer he knew I liked, same cologne, fresh haircut. Trying. Interesting how quickly effort returns when a man feels replaceable. We sat at a small corner table. He opened with, "I've been doing some thinking." I didn't interrupt. "I think I stopped seeing you. I got used to you always being there, and I took you for granted." I said nothing. "I didn't mean to make you feel invisible." I looked him dead in the eyes. "You didn't make me feel invisible. You made me feel small, like my worth had an expiration date." He winced. "I want to fix this," he said. "I want to go to counseling. I want us to rebuild." "And what exactly," I asked, "are we rebuilding?" He blinked. "Us." "No, you mean you. You want to rebuild your comfort, your routine. The woman who cooked and cleaned and still got insulted for wearing sweatpants." "That's not fair." "You're right, it's not fair, that's the point." Silence. He leaned back in his chair. "You're not the same person you were a few weeks ago." I smiled, "Thank you." He didn't mean it as a compliment. The next day, I shared a post of my own. It wasn't a revenge thirst trap, no cryptic captions, no green dress. Just a picture of my painting, the barefoot woman walking through fire. And a single sentence. She didn't rise from the ashes, she remembered she was never made of wood. It got more likes than anything I'd ever posted. Tasha texted, "He's gonna combust." David didn't combust. He deflated. Stopped texting, stopped emailing, no more "I miss you" or passive-aggressive parenting questions. He realized I wasn't returning. Not because I hated him. Because I loved myself more. Then something unexpected happened. My inbox started filling up. Women I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me. "I saw your painting, it made me cry. I remember you in college, you always had fire. I'm so glad she's back. My husband said the same thing to me 2 months ago. I've been too afraid to leave. You gave me courage." One even wrote, "My daughter saw your story and said, 'Mom, that's what being strong looks like.'" I sobbed on my bathroom floor. Not from grief. From relief. Because all this time, I thought I'd been unraveling. But really, I'd been rewriting. I thought leaving would be the hardest part. Turns out, the real twist was watching him try to reshape the narrative and lose. 1 month after the night I walked out in my green dress, David finally broke his silence through an email. Subject line, "Let be civil." The body of the email read, "Since it's clear you've made your decision, I think we should begin discussing practical next steps. The kids, the finances. I want this to be mature, respectful, and private." It read like something his lawyer might have reviewed. But it was the last line that really caught me. "I hope, for everyone's sake, you won't bring unnecessary drama into this." Unnecessary drama. I had left quietly. No social media rants, no tell-all posts, no interviews or tags or trash talk. He was the one who had been posting curated flashbacks and subtle pity bait. And now that I had shared one painting, I was dramatic. I didn't respond immediately. I took my time. I consulted a lawyer, spoke with a co-parenting coach, and made sure I wasn't reacting emotionally. But in the back of my mind, I was already preparing for what came next. Because here's the thing. David didn't just want a divorce. He wanted control over the narrative of it. Later that week, I received a call from a mutual friend, Erin. "Hey," she said hesitantly, "I'm only calling because I thought you should know David been talking." I braced myself. "He's telling people he tried to save the marriage, but you were just having some kind of breakdown. He says you're going through a midlife crisis." I laughed. "I'm 34. "I know," Erin sighed, "but you've changed, and apparently to David, change equals unstable." There it was. The pivot. When a woman changes without asking permission, it becomes a crisis. I responded to David's email, calm, firm, clear. "Yes, let's keep things respectful and legal. I'll be communicating through counsel moving forward. Let me know when your attorney is ready to proceed." No venom, no exclamation points, just boundaries. And still he pushed. He sent texts through mutual friends. He made comments to other parents at our kids' school. At one pickup, he muttered, "I can't believe you're doing this to them." I stared at him. "I'm not doing anything to them," I said. "I'm doing something for me." The spiral continued. He tried to get ahead of the optics, scheduling extra playdates, showing up to school events he used to skip, suddenly posting dad life photos of him making pancakes. His Instagram became a highlight reel of a man rediscovering his children and pretending he'd always been present and engaged TM. Meanwhile, I stayed quiet. Not because I was weak, but because I didn't need to perform healing. I was actually doing it. One night, I attended a local women's panel on self-reinvention after divorce. Tasha had practically dragged me there. I was nervous at first, felt like an imposter in a room full of women who had survived wars I couldn't imagine. But when they opened the mic for audience stories, something in me said, "Stand up." So I did. I told them everything, without names. The robe, the comment, the dinner, the applause. And when I finished, there was a pause. Then someone clapped. Then another. Then the whole room. Not out of politeness, but recognition. Women came up to me after with tears in their eyes. One whispered, "Thank you for not making yourself smaller for his comfort." Another hugged me and said, "I've wanted to leave for years. You just gave me the blueprint." It hit me then. David had tried to turn my story into a scandal. But it was becoming a movement. And just when I thought I was done being surprised, I got a letter. From David's mother. A handwritten note on ivory stationery. "I raised my son to be strong. I didn't realize I also raised him to be careless with the strength of others. I'm sorry for how he made you feel, and for how long I looked away." There were no emojis. No hashtags. Just ink and honesty. And that, somehow, healed something in me more than any therapy session had. Because it meant someone else saw it. The full picture. Not just the filtered version. He tried to rewrite the story. I let him, because I was already writing a better one. By the time our legal separation process formally began, I'd stopped expecting apologies. David wasn't going to give me closure, not real closure. He'd give me spin, half-truths, carefully filtered messages through mutual friends, maybe even occasional acts of performative kindness to keep up appearances. But the man who once told me I didn't excite him anymore. He couldn't handle the version of me that had stopped shrinking to fit his idea of love. So I gave up waiting for him to get it. Instead, I built my own momentum. I went full firestorm on my personal reawakening. I enrolled in evening classes in digital design, something I'd dreamed of before we had kids, before life became grocery lists and apologizing for forgetting milk. I launched a small Etsy store selling hand-painted prints of women reclaiming their bodies and stories. The one with the woman walking through flames became a bestseller. I started a private support group called She Didn't Let Herself Go, just a few dozen women at first, but within weeks it grew to hundreds. Each story was raw, unfiltered, often heartbreaking. He stopped touching me. He compared me to girls on Instagram. He said I'd gotten too emotional after having our child. It was like looking into hundreds of mirrors. I wasn't alone. I was part of a chorus that had finally found its voice. Meanwhile, David's narrative started unraveling. At the kids' school, people weren't buying the poor abandoned husband story anymore. Turns out, when you've spent years showing up late, ignoring fundraisers, and rolling your eyes at community events, people remember. And when you suddenly start showing up with home-baked cookies and matching outfits, they really remember. He's rebranding, Tasha said one day after drop-off, sipping her latte. Pity is his new cologne. We laughed, but I also felt a strange pang of grief. Not for him. For me. The version of me who had tried for so long to get him to show up, to be present, to care, to see me. And now that I was gone, he'd finally become the husband he'd pretended to be in Christmas cards. Too late. He sent one last personal message. This time a letter. Typed 2 pages, stapled. It read like something his therapist might have approved. He admitted to weaponizing his dissatisfaction. He acknowledged the emotional weight I'd carried. He even admitted that the anniversary comment was meant to provoke me, because he didn't know how to ask for help or connection. But there was a line in the final paragraph that stuck with me. I didn't know how far you'd go. I didn't think you'd really leave. It wasn't an apology. It was a confession of disbelief. He'd never imagined I had the capacity to disappear, to start over, to choose myself. That's what scared him. Not the loss. The surprise. I didn't respond. Not out of spite. Out of sovereignty. Because you don't explain your exit to someone who made your presence feel like a burden. That week, my daughter asked me something I'll never forget. "Mom," she said, sitting cross-legged on my bed, "were you sad when you left Daddy?" I took a breath. Yes, but not because I stopped loving him. Then why? Because I stopped loving how small I felt around him. She was quiet. Then, "I think you're bigger now." I smiled through tears. "Me too, baby." Later that month, I was asked to speak at a local event called Women Who Left Loudly. The name made me laugh. Because I hadn't screamed. I hadn't burned his clothes or keyed his car. I'd walked into a restaurant, held up 10 photos of a woman he claimed to no longer want, and let the silence speak for me. But maybe that was loud. Maybe the loudest thing a woman can do is stop explaining and just act. I accepted the invite. And my talk was titled, "The Day I Dressed Up for Me." I thought my power came from walking away, but the real power was being seen walking toward myself. The night of the Women Who Left Loudly event, I stood backstage in a simple black jumpsuit, hands slightly shaking, breath shallow. I wasn't nervous about speaking. I was nervous about being understood. There's a difference. When they called my name, the applause was warm, but not over the top. These women weren't here for influencers or slogans. They were here for truth. And so I gave it to them. I told them about the robe. The comment. The dinner that turned into a performance piece. The way I laid 10 photos on a table like they were exhibits in a trial only I could bring. I told them how I walked out not with rage, but with clarity. That I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped lighting it for him. I told them I used to think letting yourself go meant you lost your beauty, your appeal. But now, I saw it for what it really meant. Letting go of who they needed you to be. So you can become who you were always meant to be. By the time I finished, the room was quiet. Not stunned, held. A woman in the front row stood up and started clapping. Then another. And another. Until I was staring at a room full of women, some wiping tears, some cheering, rising to their feet not for me, but for themselves. Afterward in the lobby, a woman approached me. Late 50s, streaks of silver in her braid, steady eyes. "I stayed 23 years longer than I should have," she said, "but tonight I felt seen for the first time. Thank you." I hugged her, and for the first time in months, I cried without feeling broken. That night I walked home, heels in my hand, city air in my lungs, and a DM in my inbox from Bella, the waitress from the anniversary dinner. "You don't know me, but I just wanted to say thank you again. My mom left my dad 2 weeks ago. She saw your video. You changed both our lives." Attached was a photo of them, smiling, arms around each other, standing in front of a tiny apartment door. Not glamorous, not filtered, but free. 2 days later, David and I finalized our separation. It was quiet. No courtroom. Just signatures. He looked thinner, tired. But when he handed me the final envelope, he said, "You were right." I nodded, "I know." He opened his mouth, then closed it. Because there was nothing left to say. And for once, he understood that. I walked out of that building later. Not because I'd ended something, but because I'd survived it. And transformed. Weeks later, I walked past a boutique and stopped cold. In the window was a mannequin in a green silk wrap dress. The same one. My dress. But it wasn't the dress that mattered. It was the look in the eyes of the woman who had worn it. And that woman, she wasn't dressing to excite anyone else ever again. He said I let myself go, but I didn't let myself go, I let myself free. People think the hardest part of leaving is the door. The slam, the silence, the rearranging of toothbrushes and calendars and custody schedules. But that's not it. The hardest part is rebuilding the voice you muted for years just to keep the peace. It's learning to trust your reflection again. It's realizing you were never too much, you were in the wrong room. I used to think power came from being wanted. Now I know better. Power is walking past someone who once made you feel like a problem and not needing to say a word. Power is knowing you could take him back, but choosing yourself instead. Power is not revenge. It's rebirth. I no longer tell the story with shame. I tell it with structure. I've spoken at 2 more events since the first one. I've been invited to write an essay for a book called Unwifeable, Stories of Women Who Chose Themselves. I even hosted my own art show. The gallery featured nothing but portraits of women mid-reinvention. No makeup tutorials, no retouching. Just raw, bold, real. In the center hung my original piece. The woman walking through fire. Except now. She's looking up. I still co-parent with David. He's better, not transformed but softened. We don't talk about the green dress, or the photos, or the applause. But once, at a parent-teacher meeting, I caught him watching me. I wasn't doing anything special, just talking to a teacher, laughing about an art project. But his eyes were different. Not longing. Not bitter. Respectful. Maybe, for the first time, he saw the full picture. The woman he underestimated. The woman he assumed had nothing left. The woman who didn't let herself go, but let herself rise. To the woman reading this who's been made to feel like she's too much, or not enough. The one told she lost her spark, or that she should try harder. You don't need to fight to be seen. You just need to stop shrinking. Because the moment you do, the world makes room for your fire. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.